Hello, this is Daniel Zolecki. It is currently the 10th of December 2019, and today I'm going to be making a video about the kind of social studies teacher that I'm becoming. It's been a long journey, and I finally feel like I am really coming into my own as the type of teacher and really understanding the nuances and the kind of direction that I want to go with my teaching. To kind of start on that. But I wanted to start with a little bit of an anecdote, actually, from one of my final days observing in my co-op's classroom just this past week. We were watching the movie Luther, the theatrical release one, and the kids were learning about Martin Luther and his impact as a revolutionary, um, and how he wrote the 95 Theses. But the film, I'd never seen it before, but it really struck a chord with me the way it personified and gave voice and character to this historical figure of Martin Luther. It displayed him as this servant of the people, of someone who always was looking out for others and was always trying to do everything he could to make people's lives better and to help people. And I'd never really thought of Martin Luther in that way, even when I learned about him in college. And the way that this movie displayed him made him relatable. It made me connect with this character from over this person from over 400 years ago, and I could tell that the kids were as well. And that moment was defining for me in really kind of making me realize how much work I've put into becoming this the servant that I am. Um, you know, Earlier today we had a convocation where it was kind of the charge ceremony where we were given the charge to go on to be the teachers that we are going to be, and Jay, my advisor, he compared this charge to being in the Peace Corps, of being a teacher is like being in the Peace Corps, being a servant of the people, and that is how I have always viewed myself this semester, and that is kind of the social studies teacher that I feel that I have become and am continuing to become and will always be striving and working and reflecting and self-improving to become, is this a better servant for the kids. When I taught reading classes over the summer, my my mentor said something there that John Boyd with the Reading Institute, he said something that really struck with me as well, that the students aren't there for us. We, the teachers, we're there for them. So this has always been this kind of mantra of being a servant to the students, being this public servant and being there for them has been a defining kind of guiding force in my teaching, and it shows through my developments through this past semester and through the assignments that I've completed. So kind of getting into the details here of the depth of knowledge questions I've been working on. The biggest one, of course, which should come from as no surprise if you know me, is that over half of these assignments that I've done over the course of this semester have involved or were direct representations and instances of me working on inquiry by design. So starting out, this inquiry by design is by far the most influential and defining aspect of where I see myself as a social studies teacher. Reading Mackenzie, his book just really spoke to me as to how to reach kids and how to really design our lessons in a way and design our curriculum in a way that allows student-centered learning, right? Students to be at the center of their own learning and to develop skills and explore content that fits them, not us trying to have them fit into our content and our curriculum design. So to kind of just get into inquiry by design a little bit, specifically, I really like the inquiry design model that Swan, Lee, and Grant have really worked tirelessly to near perfect this kind of modeling system and how to get inquiry by design into classrooms. Something I really like about it is that it addresses the main concern of teachers, that is this constant time crunch. Um, I've been a person who has struggled with trying to fit everything into a class, fit everything into a day at once, and constantly having too much on my plate. So this time crunch is something that I have felt day in and day out in my teaching, and I feel like I'm always pressed for time. So something I really like is that I just right out the gate, they address this, and honestly, something that really helped me progress as a teacher this semester and to really come to my own is shifting my perspective from covering material towards facilitating learning and being that facilitator, that servant in the classroom, has been a really big transformation moment for me. And the place that I've really done this most is through my love and passion towards inquiry by design. Um, Now, I feel like that the inquiry by design model, or the inquiry design model, uh, really helps a lot of these worries about time crunches and getting through all the material fade away. So much so that I feel like there's no one piece of information or content that's going to make or break any of my students' learning or education, but the methodology of the inquiry. That's where I feel best, that I'm almost equipping students. I'm filling their toolbox with tools and skills and ideas and exploration and inquiry that they are going to take with them beyond my class, that they're going to take with them in their own exploration of their own ideas, and as they develop and become their own person, they will have these tools and these experiences that I've given them that are going to be far more useful if they have input and if they can help guide and actually practice them. This brings in the topic of authenticity, of assessment, of curriculum design. This brings in Reuben, and for Reuben, Reuben, they assert this, that these thematic, issue-centered social studies curricula is a far more effective way to approach curriculum because it can effectively address that problem of boring and repetitive and irrelevant historical instruction and move it towards a deeper understanding of social studies. Social studies learners can move towards a deeper understanding of themselves and of the world. And I think Ruben's ideas here line directly up with the inquiry design model that Swanley and Grant present, with the discussion models that Walsh and Satz present, that I also spent a decent amount of time in my research this semester, kind of focusing in on, because I feel like discussion and inquiry go hand in hand, especially when it is a more teacher-centered, more structured and guided inquiry, as Mackenzie would call it, more so than that free inquiry. And the guided inquiry is more akin to what Swanley and Grant kind of propose in their inquiry design model, at least in the start. And that's where I would likely be doing a lot of my work, and that's where I want to continue going, and where I got the valuable experience of practicing this semester with the DOKs. I feel really, really confident going into this next semester to continue working with my ideas. I probably have a dozen or two ideas and directions I want to go with specific curriculum design, specific classroom models, classroom management models. And a lot of this is coming from the fact that I got to sit and actually think about these ideas, and I pushed myself to go through with these ideas in these depth of knowledge tasks. So yeah, lost my train of thought there. But I did want to kind of talk about a few other authors, specifically Hess and Nell Noddings, in terms of controversy, and what the purpose of shifting this kind of focus of social studies, and why I'm so focused on really equipping students with tools going into the world. Nell Noddings really has a really apt way of putting it in her book here, Addressing Controversy, where she's talking about critical thinking, and she says, citizens in such a democracy, uh, critical thinking is contributing to healthy human relations and the maintenance of a strong participatory democracy, and citizens in such a democracy must be able to communicate effectively with one another, and this capacity should be developed in our schools. Now, yeah, Noddings. This isn't the first time I read Noddings. I think that her work with care and the art of caring is really, really important. It really helped me on a personal level of figuring out how to give, how to be a servant of the students without giving too much, and with giving to myself as well. She talks about self-fullness as a way of thinking and going about in the caregiver uh, careers, which teaching is one of those, and how to prevent burnout. But going back to this idea of critical thinking and as this need for democracy, I really think that the skills and the lessons and the mindset that students get from inquiry, of critical thinking, of argumentation skills, of evidence-based learning, of exploratory learning, of student-centered learning, of intrinsic motivation, all of these things come about through inquiry. All of them can come about through open discussion and facilitated discussion. And my role as a teacher is to enable all of that. I am there for the students. I am there to make learning happen in the classroom. I don't need to be a content expert. I can't beat Google at giving them random facts. I can sure as heck give them all of those. I can give them my knowledge, and I can share my experience and my worldview, and what I have seen and what I've experienced, to help them become their own person, because I cannot know what their interests are better than they can. So my role shouldn't be to tell them how they should think and how they should feel. My role should be to equip them with the best tools possible, the best ways of thinking, and show them ways and methods of thinking and ways and paths of interest and topics of knowledge that may interest them, but at the end of the day, it's their learning. My job is to make it theirs, is to help them make their learning theirs. And to really find ownership there and connectedness with their peers, and figure out how to have controversial discussions, like Hess says, like Nani say, how to have these discussions that are fundamental for the safety of our democracy, which is drastically in quite a ways right now, not only in America but across the world. Democracies are starting to falter, are starting to fail. Um, there aren't new democracies rising up out of countries anymore. We're entering a time where critical thinking, where these independent student-centered, these skills, these independent thinking skills, these critical thinking skills that come about through student-centered learning, that come about through processes like inquiry by design, are going to be fundamental if we are going to keep going on the way we are, in terms of having countries and societies that value these values discussion, that values civil liberties. Uh, so I think that, in all honesty, not only am I a servant, but this education, the social studies curriculum, I feel is the front lines of the intellectual fight that is going on in the 21st century. The internet has given vast, insurmountable amounts of information that no one really knows how to get through all of it. And that's what I have to equip my students with, the tools to be able to face a future that I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't even know what some of the present is like right now, and where we're going. Things are changing so fast. Students need to be able to adapt quickly to the changing world. And they're not going to be able to do that if all they know is facts and baseless history. History is content. History is a conduit through which students may learn skills and practice interests and learn narratives and find out why we're here and what we're doing here and question current standards and question current systems. That's what history is there for. It's not storybooks, right? The narratives exist for a reason, not just to be told and recorded. If they want to be historians, they can go to school to be a historian. That is not my job, right? And that's something that's really come that I've really come into my own to realize that I am not a history teacher. I may teach a history class, but the content is what it is. I am going to make that class for the students. That's why one of the big systems that I'm really a big proponent of is democratically chosen units. I want my students to be able to vote through a semi-democratic system. I'll have some vetoes, obviously. We're not going to just skip the entirety of the Civil War or the World Wars in a U.S. history class, but I want the students to vote, to showcase their interest in the curriculum. I want them to tell me directly and explicitly what they are most interested in and what they aren't. And I'm going to design the curriculum around them. I'm going to show them that their voice not only matters, but it drives where we go with the course. That this class is as much, if not more so, their class than it is mine. I am just there to make sure, I'm the facilitator. I am there to serve them, to help them explore their interests and explore history. I've already, read all of this. I've already learned all this. I don't care if I read about, what Ulysses S. Grant did in the Civil War for the fifth or the sixth or the ninth time. I want it to be special for them because this may be the first or second time that they're reading about it. This may be the first time that they're learning about these events and these histories with a lens of, wow, this really means something today. Like with the Luther movie, right? Kind of bringing it full circle here. That I want students to experience the classroom the way I do, as this amazing opportunity to grow and to learn from ourselves, from those around us, to help each other build a community of learning and warmth and love and support that will benefit all of us, that will help boost each other up in order to succeed. And I can't do that unless the students feel like they own that class as much as I do, that they own the curriculum and the direction and the learning that's going on. I want them to explore and feel the amazement every single day. Well, that's a bit of a high standard, but I want them to be building towards that amazement every single day so that we can have moments where Martin Luther comes alive on the screen and speaks to them, where we can have lively discussions about topics that mean something today, that are being argued about today, that have relevant consequences today. and that the students feel that. I've been talking about all these researchers and books that I've been reading, but the most important document that I got this semester was actually during this Martin Luther lesson. My co-op teacher did a really amazing lesson where the students made their own 95 theses, right? They translated some of Martin Luther's 95 theses, and then they made their own against their school. What were their main complaints against the school? I mean, it's learning, it's experiencing the history, and it's relating it to today. It's Martin Luther was a protester. Martin Luther was a revolutionary, and that is pertinent today more so than any other way of learning about him. Some of the things, they complain about their food being cold. They're gross. There being bugs in the school. They complain about the system of grading. But the biggest one that hit me, it was that they want teachers to be there for them. When kids are getting bullied, they want them to do something. They want there to be a respect for students and teachers. They want there to be this benefit for being good, for learning. They want school to be fun, to be engaging. They want it to make sense. They want the teachers to tell them, why is this relevant? I saw it on at least 7 or 8 kids' sheets that they said, I want the teachers to tell me why all of this is relevant. Some of them even said they want better teachers, but those two are two in the same. But they're asking for us to tell them why this matters. And I'm going to do that. I'm there for them. They're not there for me. I'm there for them. I will earn their respect. And I will deliver a curriculum. I will deliver a classroom. I will deliver them an experience that I hope they won't forget, but by God, will I do everything that I can to make sure that they're getting something out of it, that I am equipping them to succeed in a future that is scary and unknown. That's why I want to be a teacher. And that's the teacher I feel like I am becoming, that I am coming into my own to be. So that's my spiel on and reflection on the past semester. I feel confident. I feel motivated. I feel inspired. I can't wait to be there for them. I can't wait to serve my future kids. And that's it. So, thanks for listening. And this is Daniel Zolecki. Here's to a great spring semester of student teaching.